The pursuit of freedom is delusion. It gets talked about in these circles as something that's noble, like we should all be pursuing freedom. It's complete delusion. It's utter suffering. But sometimes, as you've done, we need to pursue it to its fullest to find out just how unfulfilling and disconnected and void of love it actually is. As you move closer towards living in service as love, living in devotion, losing yourself entirely in service of love, the part of you that fights for freedom is going to kick and scream. And you can't control that. You're not going to have this experience of like, oh, everything's cool, I'm just losing my freedom over here, as if you could just erase that part of your psyche. It's not going to happen that way. That part of you, as you submit and surrender yourself into a deep devotional love, that part of you is going to die. And at first, it's very difficult to trust that process. What I'm inviting you into is don't take this depth you've experienced as something that doesn't need tending, constant attention, constant devotion, because when you pursue it in that way, when you pursue it as something worth losing your freedom for, something worth dying for, and you feed it, it will feed you back tenfold, 100-fold. And you will start to experience an ecstasy, a bliss, and a freedom that was never possible in that other life. And that's where it comes full circle. Is what is actual freedom? It's not the preservation of self. It's the annihilation of self. It's the paradox. But in order to get there, that separate self has to die layer by layer by layer by layer. And every layer it dies, it gets more afraid and it feels less like freedom. Until you'll have a glimpse of a moment where that part of you is just dissolved and you'll feel the profundity of a love that's not possible otherwise. And then surrendering to that love becomes easier and easier and easier. It becomes ecstatic. And then you never want to go back to being trapped inside of yourself ever again. And that's when we start living as love effortlessly.